con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Con los terroristas.
So the three things I figured are incredibly difficult. The first is in a post-lunch session to get the hall full. Right? You can clearly see that that's difficult. The second is to get a conference like this to do the Harlem Shake. And but for friends at Mindshare, Barry Couples, and a few others, the team who organized it, really difficult. And the third is really the subject, which is about marketing to the middle class. And there's absolutely no way that this can be covered in 20 minutes. I'm not going to even try, right? What I'm going to do is over the next 15, 20 minutes really canter through why this is important. And we've heard a lot about the Asia story in the first half of the day. So not very different, but try to give you some data points, some touch points of why it's important, and then try to bring to life how we are trying to address media innovation within the Unilever world. So first I want to start by saying that basically if you really look at what's happening around us, whether it's technology, devices, everything that you heard, I think there are really two key things. The first is that we've got to reframe, and we're going to reframe the old, the traditional, because that's changing very dramatically. And simultaneously, we've got to reinvent for the new, because there's a whole lot of stuff which probably didn't exist even 1 year back, and that's really right there in front of us now. And therefore, as organizations, as marketers, as companies, as brands, how do we reinvent to meet that challenge? Just a bit on the context, and if you really look at it, we are collectively, across all geographies, in very, very volatile and what I'd call as challenging times. So whether it is the commodity cost cycles, whether it is geopolitical tensions, whether it is emerging markets slowing in growth, there's a whole lot which is happening around us, which is really can be called as either volatile, uncertain, or ambiguous. And that's really the backdrop in the operating environment. And there are three seismic shifts, or three big shifts which are taking place. And all of these are pretty much well understood. The first is really about the emerging market story. We all know that. The second is about the importance of sustainable living or social impact. And the third is really the entire powerhouse or the entire emergence of digital as a mainstay in the field of communications, in the field of marketing. The shift to Asia, and I think we've heard a lot about it, but really if you look at it from an economic sense, then the entire center of gravity, as they say, is shifting east and is shifting south. So really speaking, Asia in the next few years is going to be where all the action is going to lie. Statistically speaking, it's going to contribute, somewhere upwards of 40%, 45% of the global economy in a very short period of time. And closer home, there is this entire aspect of the continuously growing middle class. Anybody in here who thinks they're middle class? Oh, say, really? No, I don't think so. So middle class is really where people are out there, So they're out there in the streets, they're out there in Beijing, in Shanghai, in India, in many other parts of the world, many other parts of our geographies. And quite often as marketers, we really don't know who these people are, but they're really in a different universe. They probably haven't yet seen an iPhone, an iPad, and stuff like that. So these are the real people, and as you can see, a large percentage of population in the next few years is really going to come into the consuming class or the middle class. It's a very dramatic shift, whether you think it's people getting uplifted up from the poverty line, becoming consumers for brands like us. This is another piece of a staggering statistic that 12 out of 13 megacities, and one can argue whether it's 12 out of 15 or 10 out of 12, but the bottom line is that close to 80-90% of the megacities in the next few years, in the next 2-3 years, will actually get created in this part of the world. They'll be somewhere, the cities around us. Cities probably which we haven't heard of even today, and these are going to be really big megacities. So therefore, as marketers, really what are the implications and the opportunities? And I think very simply, there are basically three opportunities that lie in front of us as marketers. The first is about new consumers. I mentioned about a large number of people, absolutely sort of, in millions and billions actually coming into the consuming class, people who buy everyday products such as those which belong to our brands. The second is the potential to increase the usage, because even if people who are already into the consumption pattern, they could increase the usage. So simple things like brushing teeth twice daily, using more of shampoo, using more of soup, drinking more tea, and all of these are opportunities for us to increase the usage of our products. And the last is about more benefits. And quite simply, you know, this is about sort of segmenting the market further so that we can drive more and more benefits. Now, closer home to media, there are some very basic three underlying truths. And the first is about fragmentation. I see this as an opportunity as well as a challenge. And the opportunity is quite obvious because the markets are getting segmented more. It gives us more and more chances to be able to target better. And quite naturally, the challenge is the converse of that, that there is no longer a mass audience, and therefore you have to use multiple techniques to reach the same audience. So every time we'll think of fragmentation, it is generally seen as a bad word. I think from a marketing perspective, it's a good word as well, and there's a lot of opportunity which lies in the fact that media is getting fragmented. The second is better connected. We've spent the whole morning talking about the better connected piece, whether it's digital, whether it's mobile. So I think, again, for this audience, it's well understood. I don't need to spend more time. And the third is more aware. As a consequence of media proliferation, as a consequence of the fact that people are better connected, they're also more aware. They're more socially aware, they're better informed, and therefore, whether it is in terms of purchase decisions or the brands they love or they don't, certainly awareness plays a big role. And a number of companies in this chart didn't actually exist a couple of years back. Maybe even some of them didn't even exist 1 year back or were not big enough. And all of them are now becoming relevant to consumers. And by the way, as it happens, and you saw the staggering numbers which were presented by Kaan and Kareem earlier, that there are a lot of people in India, in Indonesia, in China, in our part of the world who are now actually a part of this ecosystem. So this is no longer a phenomenon which belongs to the top end or which belongs to the affluent or which belongs to the West. It is very much happening here in our space. I want to just spend a quick second on our vision as a company, and our vision is really about doubling the size of our business. This is our stated vision. You can see it on the website. It is about making a significant impact and reducing our environmental footprint, and it is about increasing the social impact. So these three things are very important. It is about business, so therefore, of course, we have to grow the business, but while doing so, we want to make sure that we are actually impacting society in a positive way, that we are addressing the environmental challenges in a very significant way. And it is in the backdrop of this context, which is the big Asian middle class or this big phenomena of shifting consuming class in Asia, the media fragmentation, the media challenges and opportunities, and the vision that we really go about doing our media innovation. So media innovation for us is not sitting in an isolated context where we just want to do cool things, and be able to present them at platforms such as these, but it is really about embedding media innovation in the heart of our marketing processes, in the heart of our brand development processes. So I want to come back to what I said earlier. And if you really look at what's happening around us, we got to reframe for the old. And when I say the old, I mean really the traditional. And old is really not bad. Old is really cool and sexy. So whether it's Asia Next Top Model, which we did with Fox on television, or whether it is Formula One, whether it is a host of other television properties that we own or we partner with. So traditional media, very, very important. And we got to reframe ourselves for that context. I'll talk about it in a minute as to how we are reframing some of those conversations. And the second is about reinventing. And this is really critical, specifically considering all that we heard about the digital change that is taking place. Last year, or about a year and a half back at Festival of Media Asia, I talked about different things that we are thinking about. So they were articulated as the 5 different things, and some of the things that we have to rethink. We have to rethink of campaigns. We have to rethink of how we invest behind channels. You saw a stat earlier, which was a poll, which said that digital is going to go up. 50% of the audience plus said that it's going to be 10 to 30% of their spends. And that really didn't exist until a couple of years back. That's all either incremental money which has come in or indeed money which has gone away from traditional media. And therefore, the biggest thing that we are trying to drive in our innovation process is really to incubate, to inspire, and to curate new thinking within our system. These are some pictures of our media lab in China, and it's really inspired by what we've seen at Baidu, what we've seen at Google, what we've seen at Facebook, and how actually technology inspires great thinking. And we're trying to bring that in-house by having a state-of-the-art facility, and this is an example in China, and likewise in all our key markets, there are media labs now, where we invite all our partners, we invite people who are the creative geniuses, technologists, to really come and inspire us, to provide ideas, to provide fuel with which we can then begin to craft our new campaigns. This is a big theme again, and this is commonly understood. I'm not going to spend time on importance of data, but the point I want to leave behind with you is that this is very different in the context of FMCG, in the context of everyday products which we sell in your neighborhood grocery store or in the supermarket. It's very, very different because the trail is really not as simple as, you know, e-commerce, social commerce, or things which happen in the net, let's say for cars, for financial services, or for other products. Because really speaking, when you pick up a bottle of shampoo, you pick up a toothpaste, do you think you leave a big trail behind? Unlikely, right? I'm going to showcase an example which I picked out from our company in Brazil. Hellmann's is a brand of mayonnaise. So let me play the video and then I'll talk about it a little bit.
Most people still think mayonnaise is only good for sandwiches. And even though Hellmann's has been successfully teaching new uses to consumers, one challenge still remained: the point of sale. We needed to take advantage of the moment when customers have all the right ingredients at hand. Hellmann's recipe receipt. If there's Hellmann's in your shopping cart, there's a recipe on your receipt. The software was installed in around 100 cash registers at a major supermarket chain. The consumers do their groceries as usual. At the cash register, the software recognizes the Hellmann's bag, quickly combines Hellmann's with other purchased products, and generates a custom recipe instantly printed on the receipt. Beef, onions, tomato, Hellmann's. Fill it with onion sauce. Chicken, parsley, curry, Hellmann's. Chicken fingers with curry. Manioc, sausage, egg, Hellmann's, yucca balls.
Não, eu paguei, estava recebendo uma nota fiscal e quando eu olhei já tinha uma receita da Hellmann's.
Filé de peixe com molho especial.
500 gramas de alcatra cortada em bifes,
Uma colher de chá de sal.
meia xícara de maionese Hellmann's.
Tem uns alface, é exatamente o que eu tô levando. É muito engraçado.
Pronto, meu jantar está resolvido.
The software was installed in all cashiers for over 3 months. In the first month alone, the sales increased 44% and thousands of recipes were printed, teaching people how to use Hellmann's to prepare salads, meats, sauces, pastas, and even sandwiches.
So this is a great example of being able to reframe the context. Right? So if the context here is really a supermarket store, the media is the simple receipt, but how can we actually combine technology and the power of data, data in this case being, you know, the different things that were bought by her at the supermarket and be able to combine it to produce a receipt. It's a great example, and very shortly we'll be here in Singapore trying some innovative experiments around what we think is still the zero moment of truth for the large part of our audience, which is really the store. And we're going to try something with the Touch Media Network here, which is going to be quite interesting in terms of trying to activate in-store purchase, which directly links into our brands, which leverages technology, which leverages data. We've heard about mobile at length. And really, if you see the various options available in front of us to leverage mobile, there are just too many. There are plenty. And therefore, the byline for us is really about doing things which are fit for purpose. So it is indeed very cool to do apps and things like that. But equally, it is very important, and a large part of our target audience is still removed from that universe of applications, or for that matter, removed from mobile advertising, from smartphones. So how do we actually use mobile which is fit for purpose? Now, this is a case from India, which we did last year. The inspiration really came from something that we've been doing in South Africa over the last 3-4 years for a brand called Omo, which is really about engaging the consumers through a regular CRM kind of program by making sure that we're connecting them via the mobile and entertaining them with really two things. One is content, and simultaneously being able to give them an option of redemptions, being given them an option of some sort of sweepstakes. Now, this is the interesting phenomena over here. This is typically middle class, right? And the interesting phenomena here is what you see over there, which is the missed call though, which is give me a missed call and you will get something. Now, the missed call is a very uniquely Asian, uniquely emerging market phenomena, which is I call you, but I don't want to spend money on my call, so I just give you a missed call and hope that you call me back, right? And this is, by the way, happening all the time. Incidentally, as we know, statistically speaking, 90% of the market in Indonesia is still prepaid. 90% or thereabouts of the market in India is still prepaid. So most of the audience over here, I'm sure, is on some sort of a postpaid plan. But the reality, the belly of the market, the billions that we talk about are using these prepaid connections, typically using them for just calling and for SMSing, and probably, you know, getting used to some of the new cooler things which are coming on. So it's a simple mechanism, and this is the sort of mother-daughter kind of equation. This is about Shampoo. Clinic Plus is our shampoo brand in India, and this is, you know, you give this missed call, and then the IVR actually relays conversation with you, both in the form of content as well as redemption. And the redemption in this case being a simple download of free talk time onto your phone, right? And in a prepaid world, you know, when you get 10 rupees or 20 rupees free talk time, that's real value. So that's the value, and then the entertainment is provided by the content. And similarly, here's another example from Indonesia. One of the common challenges which parents have, and in this world, you know, for two reasons. One is that they believe they can now be connected with their children because the children have access to mobile. And secondly, there is a greater insecurity among the parents on what the child is up to, where the child is, you know, related to whether it is sort of social challenges which the child has, or whether it is insecurity. So with a partner, we really launched a phone or a SIM card which is tailored towards this parent-child thing. So it's a SIM card which is meant only for children with full parental control. So there are only so many things that the kids can do. And quite naturally, the kids, as you can imagine, are also interested in content like everybody else is. And in this case, therefore, with our brand Paddle Pop, which is an ice cream brand in Indonesia, we put on a whole lot of content on this kids-only kind of mobile phone, which is all about, you know, gaming, Paddle Pop stories, the stories of the lion, and so on. So again, an example of doing things which are fit for purpose. So rather than doing broad brush stuff, take Paddle Pop and, you know, spread it across several 100 million phones where quite clearly this is targeted only at children. We prefer to go the route of targeted and make sure that the children get to consume this content. And there are any number of examples in mobile, all of them albeit at a very small scale. And as the chairman of the Mobile Marketing Association, one of the daunting thoughts that I have is I think in mobile, as marketeers, we've not even begun to scratch the surface. It is just absolutely at the nascent stage. Whatever we hear about great cases that we show, they're a minuscule part of what is potentially possible. And therefore, for all of us in the media business, I think that's going to be the real next frontier of how we actually engage our consumers using the mobile device. I talked about content and traditional media being very important, and that pretty much continues. You'll remember that, and some of you may have seen across a number of other such platforms, the case of Unbeatable Clear, where we leveraged great drama, great storytelling on a large number of TV stations and indeed on the digital channels as well. This is the case of our toothpaste brand Zonghua, where we pretty much did the same thing, which is great content, great storytelling, traditional drama, but brought it to life in the digital world. Let me show you a video and then talk about it.
Zonghua was to produce a compelling storyline that captured the imagination of our audience while finding an authentic role for the brand within the story. We created Zonghua Weibo Master, a 30-episode TV drama about Han Zijing, a technopreneur who suffers memory loss following a suspicious accident. Rather than succumbing to despair, Han rebuilds his life, confidently smiling in the face of adversity to reclaim the existence he once enjoyed. As well as dramatizing Zhonghua's promise of a brighter future, Weibo Master was the first ever TV series in China to partner with the #1 microblogging platform, Weibo, and featured an all-star cast. Zonghua Weibo Master delivered record results for Unilever, generating a viewership of over 2 billion. Participation levels were unparalleled, with 1 million Weibo fans created for Zonghua, the highest for any of Unilever's brands. The campaign helped Zonghua achieve a record sales high in September of this year, with an increase of 15% over September 2011.
Now again, if you really look at it, this is traditional TV drama, but brought to life on the digital platform and brought to life using several other devices which hitherto did not exist. And the key thing about this is that if there's a number which registered with you, and I think it's about 2 billion plus views for the drama then. And earlier in the day or even otherwise we hear of, scale, right? And this is really scale. So if Unbeatable Clear was 500 million viewers or 500 million views, this takes it to altogether different levels. So not only is it the first and trying to integrate Weibo, and you'll see there are common themes, right? We heard of from Ken about Weibo earlier and how it's a really popular culture and a big phenomenon in China. How can we leverage that? So the entire drama, centers around this Weibo master as the theme, and leverages it and then manages to get this kind of a followership or viewership. So, if you really look at it and we say that, look, this is all about interaction and engagement, but we should not forget that it is also about just pure entertainment. So engagement and interaction is important, but there are a large number of people who just watch it for entertainment, just pristine entertainment, watching a good movie, watching a good drama, watching Manchester United play. It's not about interaction. It is about just pure entertainment, and we should never take away from that. Now, this new thinking which we have of reframing, reinventing, we can never do it on our own. It is absolutely inconceivable that we will be able to do anything like this by just doing it ourselves or with our agency partners, and therefore we've cast the net wide. We have global partnerships with a large number of players, and indeed for a universe or for an ecosystem very unique which is in China, we have similar partnership with Sina Weibo, Baidu, Tencent, and some of the other leading companies in China as well. So the key thing over here is that this is again sort of open sourcing, if you like, and trying to rope in partners to solve some of our marketing challenges. A great example of that is Waterworks, an initiative which launched in partnership with PSI and Facebook. And this is really about the simple truth that there is a challenge in emerging markets of clean drinking water, as simple as that. There's a large number of people, specifically in the West, including in our parts, but more specifically in the West, who would like to contribute to this problem. And how nice would it be if we were able to use the open graph and the social graph of people on Facebook, and let's say for every like that they do, they contribute 1 cent towards drinking water in Bhopal. We have a pilot, a project running in Bhopal right now with PSI, where a large number of water workers go out into the villages and try to bring good, clean drinking water to those villages. Now, the interesting part of this is that donations, firstly, in general, this is the first time that Facebook tried to do it, and they did it along with us. We did it with PSI, which is a leading NGO in this space. But the interesting part is that, again, technology allows us for a reverse path of communication. So if you've contributed, let's say, $10 a month, you are actually able to identify that there's a lady who's actually going to the village in Bhopal, and she relays back. She takes pictures of what the transformation taking place in the village and shoots it back to you, again, via Facebook. It's pictures, videos, all of those are shared. And that makes a very, very interesting proposition. So at one end, it is simply the act of, clicking on a like and being able to contribute, but equally about genuinely being a part of, that transformation which is taking place, albeit in, a very small section. The challenge is far large than, what can be addressed by a simple app like this. But it is really in some ways a very, very simple way of trying to touch consumers, trying to touch, a thread with people, and then impacting them along with our partners. The last case I'm going to show it kind of brings it all together. We heard about experiences, that's a common thing about creating great experiences. This is our leading brand in India. It's a tomato ketchup brand called Kisan. Depending on which week we are reading the scores, we are market leaders or not, but we're sort of almost there all the time. So I'd show the case and then talk about it. Can we have the video, please?
Gotta keep the fire burning, keep the hope alive. They gotta keep it turning.
So if I recap, I talked about our vision really being about doubling doubling our business, about reducing our environmental footprint and making a positive social impact. And the last case that you saw really captures all of these. Great business results, as you saw. Clearly raising the awareness about environment issues, in this case, with the kids and the moms, about growing real tomatoes and how, nature is important, and making a positive social impact. So in everything that we do, when you think of media innovation, this is absolutely crucial that it links back in some ways, it feeds back into our vision, and that's what we really stand for. So that is all that I had to share, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, in 20 minutes, it's impossible to cover marketing to the middle class. I could go on for the next 2 days, but I guess that would amount to almost hijacking this conference. Absolutely no intentions of doing so, and I'm very keen to look forward to hearing the rest of the speakers. Thank you.